Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Anil Joshi. Welcomes you to my series that is Learn Radiology with Dr. Anil Joshi. Today's topic is inflammatory disease patterns on mammography of the breast diseases, and I am Dr. Anil Joshi going to tell you in this lecture all detailed patterns of it. Now to start with, disclosure, acknowledgement and disclaimers. All the material used in this is our own. However, there are certain illustrations, there are certain classifications which are taken from the net, which are available without any royalty, without any financial encumbrances. So also there is a material which we use in our department as a teaching material. Now let's get going. First is anatomy. Anatomy is basic of everything. The breast is an appendage of skin and is modified sweat gland. The shape of the female breast is due to the fat contained with the fibrous septi. The adolescent and young adults, the breast is firm and prominent. With the age, the glandular and fibrous element atrophies. The skin stretches and the breast sags. The breast lies between the skin and pectoralis fascia, to which it is loosely attached. It extends from second to the sixth rib and from the lateral border of the sternum to the mid-axillary line. A prolongation of parenchymatous tissues, the axillary tail runs up towards between the pectoralis major and latissimus dorsi muscle to blend with the fat of the axilla. Now these are the anatomical illustrations. You can see clavicle, second rib, then the fat and adipose tissues, areola, nipple, ampulla and sixth rib. And the glandular portion is again specified in the other diagram. Now let us continue with the anatomy. The breast glandular tissue consists of 15 to 20 lobules, that is cluster of milk forming glands or acini that enters into the branching and interconnecting ducts. The duct widened beneath the nipple as the latissiferous sinuses and the empty via nipple openings. The primary secretory unit is a group of circular alveoli draining into ductules, the terminal duct lobular unit. If the resting state is secrete water fluid which is believed to be reabsorbed through the walls of the large ducts. Now the alveoli duct are lined by a single layer of epithelial cells. Myoepithelial surround the duct but not the lobules. They are contractile and move secretions along the duct system. That's how the milk is drained from the glands up to the nipple. Now we are at the clinical presentation of the breast diseases. Now let's go to the clinical presentation. Now clinically this patient can come as a mastalgia. It can be a symptom. Mastalgia is a breast pain and is generally classified as either cyclic associated with menstrual periods or non-cyclic. Then breast pain of any type is rare symptom of the breast cancer. Only 7% of the cancer has been known to be associated with mastalgia. Most mastalgia is one of a minor and moderate severity and accepted as a part of normal changes that occurs in relation to the menstrual cycle. A cyclic mastalgia begins since the average of 34 years, relieved by menopause. Physical activity can increase the pain, for example lifting and prolonged use of the arm. Non-cyclic mastalgia affects older women, that is the mean age 43, arises from the chest wall, breast itself or outside the breast. Now what is gynecomastia? It's a growth of glandular tissue in male breast. The name comes from the Greek term that is gyne and mastos, meaning a female-like breast. It's a benign condition that accounts for more than 65% of the male breast abnormalities. So gynecomastia is seen in 65 5% of the complaint of male breast is the commonest cause of the breast abnormality in male. Gynecomastia is clearly differentiated from pseudogynecomastia, which is an accumulation of excess fat in a male breast, which is abnormal and should not be considered as abnormal. It is usually unilateral and occurs in young men. There is no hormonal dysfunction in unilateral gynecomastia. Bilateral gynecomastia is due to systemic causes. Causes of gynecomastia may be regarded as, that is the primary gynecomastia, physiological causes. Neonatal gynecomastia, second is due to the transplacental passage of maternal estrogens and may be associated with a nipple discharge known as witch milk. It usually resolves during the first few weeks of the life. Then second is pubertal gynecomastia. It is a commonest male breast lesion. It can be either unilateral or bilateral. Reassurance is often the only treatment that is required. The lesion will generally settle spontaneously but may persist for months or years. Now, senile gynecomastia can be difficult to differentiate from pseudogynecomastia due to general adiposity increasingly seen in old age. Now, secondary gynecomastia is important from our point of view and we have to differentiate it. Then is a primary testicular failure, then anorchia, Klinefelter syndrome, bilateral cryptorchidism, acquired testicular failure, which includes MUM, resulting orchitis, then irradiation. Secondary testicular failure include hypopituitarism, isolated gonadotrophic deficiency, and endocrinal tumors include testicular, then adrenaline. All these things are important in knowing secondary gynecomastia and must be kept in mind. Then non-endocrine tumor include bronchial carcinoma, lymphoma, hypernephroma, then hepatic diseases, alcoholic cirrhosis, hemochromatosis, then drugs like estrogen agonistic, then hyperprolactinemia, then testosterone target cell inhibitors. So these are few to add into the list. Therefore, a secondary gynecomastia has to be excluded. Pathologic condition has to be seen because there are certain serious conditions behind it. Then what is the pathology of breast gynecomastia? Is estradiol is the growth hormone of the breast, and excess of estradiol leads to the proliferation of the breast tissues. Under normal circumstances, most estradiol in male is derived from the peripheral conservation of the testosterone and adrenaline estrol. Then the basic mechanism of gynecomastia are decrease in androgen production, absolute increase in estrogen production, then an increased availability of estrogen precursors for peripheral conversion to estradiol. Now, clinical causes is often self-evident from the full history and examination. The testis should always be examined. Useful investigation may include a chest X-ray to include neoplasm, full blood count like to exclude cirrhosis and other conditions, then liver function test. If there is suspicion of a testicular tumor, then ultrasound should be requested for the scrotal sonography. Then hormonal assay may be confirmed endorphin. The hormonal assay may confirm endocrinopathies. Now, fat necrosis, this is a traumatic in nature and is met with female with large fatty breast. It results from injury to the breast by a trauma, surgery and biopsy. Cause to focal fibrosis and cicatrized formation. Then in early edema of the fat lobules, increased echogenicity may be evident on ultrasound. Then post-surgical scar will be evident. Then there can be hematoma or seroma, that is serum collection. Now, fat necrosis further clinically, the patient develops severe bruising over the moderately severe trauma. When the bruises settle down, the woman notice swelling which is clinically impossible to distinguish from carcinoma of the breast because the irregular mass is often attached to the skin. Microscopically, a central area of necrosis, fat cells are surrounded by granulomatous reactions consisting of macrophage cells. Then coming to duct ectasia, important condition. This condition has several stages of involvement and vanity of names include plasma cell mastitis, then choroidomastitis, chronic abscess simulating carcinomas. Then it is a benign lesion, may be virtually impossible to differentiate from carcinoma by its gross appearance. Then its widening of the ducts of the breast, a condition that occurs most frequently in women in 40s and 50s. A thick and sticky discharge, usually grey to green in color, is seen in most of the cases. The tenderness and redness of the nipple and surrounding breast tissues may also be present. Sometimes scar tissues forms around the abnormal duct, leading to a lump that may be initially mistaken for cancer. Now, what is duct ectasia? Continuation. Microscopically, the periductal elastic tissue is destroyed and the surrounding tissues are infiltrated by lymphatics and plasma cells. So that is a pathogenesis. Clinically, the condition presents as a solitary or multiple tender swelling in the sub or perianal region of the breast, the nipple retraction, skin adherence, edema, and axillary adenopathy may accompany a hard diffuse mass with the breast. Palpation reveals a number of cord-like swelling which radiate from the areola. The ducts are dilated, contain inspissated yellow cheesy material that can be expressed or expelled like toothpaste from the cut end of the duct. Occasionally, the inflammatory response are so acute that the skin changes occur and the condition may be mistaken for a breast abscess. Now we'll see it. We are seeing a dilated duct, we are seeing the fluid accumulated in it, and both videos and on static we are seeing the same thing. So the abnormal widening of the breast ducts larger than 2 mm and more than 3 mm at ampulla. Here are few more cases. You can see the dilated duct. The vascularity will depend on the acuteness of the lesion. If the infective process is chronic, if it is infiltrating these surrounding tissues producing fibrosis, there will not be much Doppler changes. Now fibrotic changes around the duct indicate chronicity in this case. Now here we are seeing dilated duct. They are containing clear fluid. So abnormal widening of the breast ducts larger than 2 mm and more than 3 mm at ampulla, inspission of debris and secretions within the duct is seen here. Now here we have got both mammo as well as sonography, abnormal widening of the breast ducts larger than 2 mm. Then we can see inspission of debris, there are internal echoes. Now here we are seeing a left areolar duct dilatation. Abnormal widening of the breast ducts larger than 2 mm. Again at areola, you can see they are seen up to the areola. So abnormality is seen in both mammography as well as on sonography. Now here we are seeing a hypertrophic duct. Though it was considered abnormal widening of the breast ducts with surrounding edematous stroma indicating inflammatory process around the duct, on the sonography, however, the histology or histopathology has proved it to be wrong, and sonographic and the mammographic diagnosis was chronic mastitis. However, the histopathology, it came out as the duct carcinoma. So these two are very close to each other and needs to be differentiated. Now is a galactocele. It is cystically dilated terminal ductule that are filled with milk and are lined by the double layer of the breast epithelium and myoepithelium. Classically appear as a penless lump. Then it occurs after many months or some months after cessation of the breastfeeding. So during breastfeeding it will be seen, as well as it can be sometimes seen after the breastfeeding has been stopped. Now it is probably formed by obstruction to a duct in the purpurium. The milk retained proximal to the obstruction eventually become cheese-like. The common complication of this type of swelling is the infection. The treatment is by surgical excision, or if it can drain away, then that will also sometime they can have a spontaneous recovery. Now abnormal winding of the ducts, inspission of the debris and secretions. The varied appearance depends upon fat and protein content. If they are more, the appearance will be different. They are less, they will be different. And it consists of the fluid consists of the fat, and sometimes it can also give a fat fluid level, and sometimes it can be multicystic also, multiple ducts. Now here again we are seeing another cases of galactocele. Now both are showing the changes, the sonography as well as mammography. You can see a dilated duct. Now here you are getting good echogenicity, that I told you is depending on the content. Now there is abnormal widening of the breast duct, inspission of the debris, secretion within the duct. The varied appearance of the depended upon fat and protein content. The consistency of fluid is increased, and the echogenicity increase indicate increased vascularity. Now on mammography it appears as a solid mass, and that is the main worry for us. So top-up sonography gives the answer and an important clue, and it totally changes the management. Now few more cases we are showing you. A mass which appears on a mammography shows totally different appearance on sonography. It's the abnormal winding of the ducts, inspission of debris and secretion within the duct. The varied appearance of it depends on the fat and protein content. Consistency of fluid, fat fluid level is also seen if you see it carefully. Few more cases. Abnormal widening, inspission of debris, secretions, then multicystic appearance. Main important thing here is the history. Now what is the treatment? Is medical treatment is so sometime the medical treatment may be effective or may not be effective, and the follow-up on a modality will tell you whether it is effective or not effective. Then diet therapy, caffeine restriction, diuretics, then laudanum containing agents. See, these may or may not help, or most of the time they don't help. Then thyroid hormones, then evening primrose oil, that will reduce it. Then vitamin E and B6. Then dihydroergotamine is another therapy which is given. These are the medical line. Then anti-prolactin drugs can be given. Now what is a hormone therapy? Is low estrogen, then progesterone in luteal phase, and anti-estrogens like tamoxifen and androgen, that is danazol. So these are the hormones or the medical line of treatment you give for this. Let us continue with the mastitis. Now breast mastitis is an infection that commonly affects women who are breastfeeding, especially during the first 2 months of the childbearing, that can occur in women at that stage. Now mastitis is a benign condition that can usually be treated successfully with antibiotics. Inflammation can be caused by many types of injuries. Then infection, the infectious agent and their toxins, then physical trauma, chemical irritants are few more to add. What are the signs and symptoms of mastitis? The part of all of the breast is intensely painful, hot and tender, red and swollen, that is hyperemia. Some patient can pinpoint a definite area of inflammation, while the other times the entire breast is tender. Then patient feel tired, run out, itchy, have chills, fever. These are constitutional symptoms. Then breastfeeding mother who think she has a flu probably has mastitis. So this is the important thing when you are attending. Check patient's history and when she has delivered. Now chills or feel feverish, temperature 38 degrees higher, these are all constitutional symptoms. Progressively worsening, then growing more tender. Other sign of mastitis: cracked or bleeding nipples, then stress or getting run down. These all are different patient, different complaining, but they all point, one of the indication is if there are any tenderness over the breast, pain over the chest, just go for a sonography more than mammography. The reason is mammography needs compression. Then mastitis usually requires treatment. Treatment for mastitis may require following. Antibiotics are usually prescribed. Then is the warm water on infected area of the breast before breastfeeding of the child. Then breastfed or pump frequently to use the retained secretions, and breastfed only until the breast is soft. If it is firm, hard, tender, then breastfeeding should be stopped. Apply IC compression. These are all supportive therapies which may be tried, but ultimately antibiotics are the most important, and second are the sonographic diagnosis. Then the acute mastitis can lead to chronic mastitis, and that can lead to the chronic mastitis. Now here the suspicion will be for a malignancy, because patient will have a lump because of chronicity. It may not be tender, but a detailed history will give you an idea. On sonography, ill-defined areas of altered ecogenic texture with hyperechogenicity resembling infiltrated or inflamed tissues. Thick wall and low Doppler signal indicate chronicity. So again, good history taking and good ultrasound correlation is something that is required. Here we can see a thick wall, irregular wall. Now again, acuteness or chronicness, the most important feature is history taking. On sonography, ill-defined areas of altered ecotexture, then infiltration into soft tissues, thick wall and low Doppler signal indicate again it's a chronic, and again it will mimic like a malignancy. The main role is by both sonography as well as mammography. This now breast abscess is the condition usually during the lactation. As a role of, there are organisms that can cause this infection like Staphylococcus aureus, and less commonly are Staphylococcus pyogenes. Then the usual mode of infection is via nipple, the infection being carried by sucking infant in the nasopharynx. The infection is at first located at the segment drained by the lactiferous duct, but it may subsequently spread to the inward other areas of the breast. Continuing again further, now here clinical feature, mastitis, breast abscess. There are a lot of common symptoms, and clinical history usually is important because it tells you the causes. Now these all very close to the mastitis. Now coming to investigation. Ultrasound should be localized abscess. The FNAC used to exclude underlying carcinomas, especially in chronic breast abscesses, as we have seen just now. When the abscess becomes encapsulated with a thick fibrous capsule and the condition cannot be distinguished from a carcinoma without a biopsy. We have seen these cases just now before this. They are very important. History is important. Then ultrasound findings are important. Mammographically both may look similar, malignancy and this, but ultrasound and Doppler are deciding. They will differentiate. Now, not necessarily breast abscess is seen in lactating. They can be in non-lactating also. Now here we are mentioning about same. Age group is elderly, then more common in smokers, often gives history of recurrent breast sepsis, then repeated aspirations. If the treatment is of choice, you aspirate it today, again if it accumulates you can re-aspirate it. So repeated aspiration with antibiotic coverage is the treatment of choice, and it usually is required, and it avoids the surgery or excision may not be required in these patients. Now you can see here breast abscesses because of chronicity, there is fibrosis set, then there are internal echos, and there is a retraction of the areola and nipple retraction. On sonography, ill-defined areas of altered ecotexture with hyperechogenicity representing infiltrating and inflamed tissues. Thick wall, low Doppler signal indicate chronicity. Few more cases. Sonographically ill-defined areas of altered ecotexture. We are showing a couple of more cases. Again, you can see a chronic abscess. Both are shown sonography as well as the mammography. Now what we are seeing here is on sonography ill-defined areas of altered ecotexture with hyperechogenicity representing infiltrated and inflamed tissues. Then the thick wall and low Doppler signal indicate it is a chronic. And inside the lesion, what echogenicity you are seeing is because of the debris. Now again few more cases. Now this mass has subsided after the antibiotics. So on sonography, ill-defined areas of altered ecotexture with hyperechogenicity representing infiltrated or inflamed tissues, thick wall, low Doppler signal indicate chronicity. And on mammography also you are finding, but here most important thing is patient's symptom has receded after the course of antibiotic. So it was inflammatory, no need to go further. Then it is a areolar abscess. You can see it on ultrasound, you can see it on mammography also. These are the different location, different positions, inflamed collection, inflammatory abscesses are seen, multiple cases here. The pathology is inflammatory collection. So abscess was a probable diagnosis. Again, if it is chronic, there will be a lot of fibrosis around. Under that condition, they will be very near to the malignancy on clinical ground. So different cases we are showing. So definitely a Doppler is a perfect investigation in case if you are suspecting it is a duct, it is the cyst, it is something else that can be best located by ultrasound, since you can trace them, you can trace the ducts, you can see the parenchyma surrounding, you can note the fibrosis, and all that thing can tell you whether it is a inflammatory pathology or otherwise. And not only that, what is the etiology for it? Now let us come to an entity that is called as chronic granulomatous mastitis. It's not a very common thing. It is different from the chronic abscess. Chronic granulomatous mastitis is inflammatory breast disease of unknown origin. It can mimic carcinoma since it's present as a firm to hard mass and involves subareolar region. It affects younger women. It appears as asymmetrical increased density, the mass-like appearance, tubular or hypoechogenic structures, and local increased parenchymal echogenicity with acoustic shadowings are the mammographic features with top-up sonography. Now acoustic shadowings and all are the features of sonography. We combine here both together, mammography as well as sonography. Now here you can see the described findings. Chronic granulomatous, because it is chronic, it is showing fluid content with echogenic particles. There are few echogenic nodules with echogenic debris with low peripheral vascularity, mastitis, abscess formation, chronicity, or you can term it as chronic granulomatous mastitis. They are very close to each other. There are few echogenic nodules with echogenic debris. You can note it that nodules will be slightly hyperemic. It will show increased vascularity. Here we are showing you two cases with ultrasound also as well as mammography also. Now let us come to another inflammatory process, that is bilateral nipple retraction. Nipple retraction, let us take it as unilateral or bilateral. Now bilateral by and large reflects inflammatory process or some other process, but unilateral you have to be careful because there can be chances of malignancy in unilateral nipple retraction. Now nipple retraction can be a symptom of carcinoma and needs to be correlated with patient's history, and majority cases it is benign process going for long time. A technologist who is doing mammography must be aware of the history and a finding and a improvement in a technique. She has to change the technique so that a proper nipple and subareolar tissues will be seen on the mammography because they are important for interpretation of this thing. Lot of time it is bilateral, is benign, or we may not get any cause at all, but in that case we have to exclude mammary duct ectasia. Then it can be post surgical scarring, nothing much to be proved or disproved. Fat necrosis usually occurs post radiation, and fibrocystic changes. These are things which we'll have to find out if there is nipple retraction. Now these are the cases. In this case, there is a chronic inflammatory process. Now, unilateral. In this case, you will have to exclude malignancy. If it is unilateral, if it has come in a short span, it is very important to exclude malignancy. Bilateral, often you may get a chronic inflammatory etiology looking at history, or often patient don't give any history, just they say it is there since long time, or they are just noted when they come for the mammography. That is also possible. So these are the different cases and different underlying causes which we have already enumerated. Chronic inflammatory process is best seen by ultrasound. Now here it is duct ectasia with retractile nipple. Sometimes it is chronic inflammatory process, sometimes there is no cause, sometimes it is malignancy. So you have to see not only history, you have to alter the technique, and you have to see the subareolar tissues properly. Now let us come to a conclusion that benign breast diseases are common disorder as well as diseases. They are more common in younger women. They make around 80% of the total breast diseases in women's less than 30 years. The etiopathogenesis is complex and not fully understood, or as far as some diseases are concerned, in some diseases you will have to go in detail and find out. Lump and pain are the most common complaints. Then evaluation is done by triple assessment, which we have already discussed in detail. Histological risk factors for future malignancy and relatively high risk needs to be known, especially by taking the family history. Treatment is based on the natural history of the clinical problems. We should know the natural course of the disease, natural course of the problem, and we should know treatment accordingly. Treatment must be tailored. Treatment must be tailored to individual need, because there is no fixed standard. Sometimes you have to follow up, sometimes you have to go excision, sometimes you will have to go for histopathology. All these things will be decided case to case wise. With this, we are coming to a conclusion. I thank you for giving me your valuable time. Please note, radiology is not a race, it's a process. Be a part of it and enjoy the feast of knowledge. I am Dr. Anil Joshi, logging off till we meet again. Just to remind you that there are multiple lecture series on the mammographies and breast diseases. Each and every lecture, there are different illustrations. So, in addition to this lecture, go through the other lectures also. Try to have your own eye on the disease, your own interpreting method, so that you can apply your experience and come to a conclusion. It is very important to exclude breast cancer, because eradication of breast cancer is presently taken as the important project in the medical sciences. In that, what is most important are the detection of the breast cancer in early stage. In that way, mammography plays a most important role, that is a staining mammography. So also, even if there is a palpable pathology, there are different diseases which can be mimic like malignancy, we have to know them properly and filter out the malignant cases so that they can get good treatment in quicker succession and they will get a better lifespan. Thank you, take care and do your best.